A Brooklyn Center small engine repair shop is worried the city is trying to shut his business down. The city says what he needs is a permit. Reporter Emily Haugen explains what comes next.
These are all the projects for this week. We've become kind of a huge thing for Brooklyn Center because we're much faster, we pick up and deliver the equipment, and we're typically much cheaper.
Nick Phillips' home office is his garage.
I'd say I service around 150 machines a month, so it's pretty substantial for one person.
Phillips spends his days repairing small engines.
Started as just a small hobby, kind of doing it on the side for the local neighbors, and then it's kind of grown from there.
10 years without a hitch. That is until last November.
Here I am trying to fix them, and I'm getting fined from the city. I'm obviously not doing anything different now than I've done for the past 10 years. The city's never had a problem with it.
I think our staff is receptive to problem solving and, trying to move the situation forward.
Community Development Director Jesse Anderson says for the past 10 years, Phillips' business has flown under the city's radar. Brooklyn Center learned of Phillips' business in November when someone reported it.
A home business is allowed in certain situations, and the code has restrictions on some.
This customer here is getting an engine swap. His engine seized up from lack of oil.
For a small engine repair business, a permit is needed that Phillips doesn't have.
Mostly all of the storage outside was kind of what prompted our attention.
They don't like the fact that we're doing it here. They say that we're not zoned for it, that we don't have the proper permit.
Phillips is worried his business will be shut down.
We're just trying to do the right thing and make a business here where people seem to have a need.
But Anderson says Nick's Small Engines does have a chance.
I think if the items outside were cleaned up and then they applied to the city council for their conditional use permit, there is a path forward where he can continue to operate his business.
In Brooklyn Center, Emily Haugen, CCX News.
We now know what it will cost the city of Brooklyn Center to put up a memorial to honor Dante Wright. City officials say the memorial at 63rd and Catherine will cost the city nearly $250,000. The cost is included in the settlement with the Wright estate. Wright was shot and killed by Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter in April 2021. Contractors are expected to start work on the monument by mid-August. For Plymouth and many other cities, it's a battle against buckthorn. The invasive shrub chokes out native plants. But now, as Rusty Ray reports, Plymouth made some changes and brought in four-legged reinforcements.
You may think goats eat just about anything. Goat herder Tom Sonnenstall says that's not exactly true.
I have never seen a goat eat a tin can.
But they will eat buckthorn and just about anything else growing where you don't want it. The city of Plymouth hired Tom and his 20 or so goats to chomp away.
It's going green, and it's productive go green. And I mean, the results are right there immediately, and long term too, but you see it immediately.
It's long-term planning for goat herders. Tom has his more than 200 goats spread out across the state, beating buckthorn for cities and neighborhoods anywhere they can.
You can't just go in and cut it down. You have to stay on top of spraying it and mechanically removing it, and it's really hard to manage for a small team like ours.
This summer is the first time the city has used goats for this purpose. It's not like city leaders didn't have the idea before, but they had to change ordinance last summer just to make it happen. Instead, the city's dozens of parks workers can focus on other projects.
To mow, work with trees, work on the playgrounds, the buildings, all the rentals and events that the city sponsors.
These goats come standard with a natural off-road capability.
Like this site here is on a pretty steep hill, and to get our personnel on that hill and clean the buckthorn out, it's really tough and very arduous work. So let the goats out and they do all the work for us.
And rarely complain about the summer workload. In Plymouth, Rusty Ray, CCX News.
Plymouth changed its ordinance to allow for prescribed grazing, which includes goats eating away at invasive species. After months of anticipation, a first-of-its-kind restaurant in Minnesota is now open in Brooklyn Park. This weekend, we visit a place where you can get donuts, hot pot, and Korean barbecue all under one roof.
Thank you so much for coming.
In most restaurants, the kitchen staff cooks the food out of the view of the customer.
Set one table with the meat or vegetable, everything come out.
But Soke isn't like most restaurants. fact, owner Lynn Wen says this place is one of a kind.
So this is the first restaurant in Minnesota we offer hot pot and barbecue together.
For those unfamiliar with the concept of Korean barbecue and hot pot, we'll explain. Customers are seated at a table where there's a hot grill in the center. If you opt for Korean barbecue, the waitstaff will bring out marinated meat that you cook yourself on that very grill. If you order hot pot, they offer 6 different types of broth that you can use as a soup base. The broth is warmed in front of you, and you decide what sort of protein, vegetables, or noodles you want to put inside. Let it cook for a few minutes, then scoop and serve. If you need help,
Yeah,
the waitstaff has you covered.
that's why I like to train all my server, well training how to help and guide the customer, because this is the new concept for the people in Minnesota.
And if you're craving something sweet,
So we have the banana meal today.
you can get that here as well. Moki Nut Dessert Shop opened under the same roof as Soke back in May, much to the delight of donut lovers everywhere.
Yeah, customer like it and they coming back.
There are a few things here that will likely keep customers coming back, from the robot that guides people to their tables to the dining experience. It's all part of Wen's plan to prove that you don't need to go to the city to enjoy delicious food.
Hopefully they come here and enjoy with us.
Soke is located in a strip mall near 85th and Edinburgh Center Drive.
The Wayzata boys tennis team enjoyed a strong season this spring, one of many Trojans teams to excel this school year. In this CCX Sports Spotlight story from early May, we met Wayzata's top singles player.
He's pretty hard to miss on the tennis court. Wayzata's 6'7" senior Collin Beduhn puts that frame to good use, with a devastating serve helping him to become one of Minnesota's best players. There are pluses and minuses to being that tall, though.
Yeah, no, it helps with the serve a lot. Being as tall as I am, I can get that leverage over the serve and really kind of snap down, get some power and spin. But it does hurt with some of the ground strokes, being so far away from the ball when you're hitting.
With his serving, 130 miles an hour plus, is the fastest server I've ever seen in Wayzata, and one of the fastest I've seen in 28 years of coaching. So his size helps that, but he also has tremendous technique and tremendous balance.
Everyone I play kind of has a different strategy on how they're going to beat me. Some people, as you said, they kind of rely pretty heavily on the drop shots, which used to bother me a lot, but I've gotten faster over the years, so it doesn't bother me quite as much these days. And the volleys have definitely gotten better, so that helps when people start to drop shot. But yeah, a lot of people try a lot of different things. So
Beduhn is ranked number 1 in singles in Class 2A. He wasn't always at the top on the way up, and that may have helped in the long run as he's had to work for it.
I grew up, I was always pretty good, but I was never really as good as I was now, and really just kind of pushed me to work harder and do the little things that some of these other people weren't doing.
Oh, he's definitely a late bloomer. I mean, there's no doubt that he's beating kids in 18s, nationally, compared to where he was in 12s and 14s, where he was definitely one of the better players in our section. But again, he had to have his feet catch up to his body. Always wanted to be great, and definitely saw a transition once he went really from 8th grade to 9th grade.
Collin's not the only Beduhn in the Wayzata lineup. Younger brothers Aaron and Nolan are his siblings and teammates.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. We get the entire family, we get the grandparents out, and then always looking down the line and seeing some Beduhns is always pretty fun. So I played the first few years without any siblings on the team, and now that I got 2, it's pretty fun.
Collin recently beat Edina's Matthew Fullerton in a rematch of the epic state final from last year that Fullerton won. It wasn't a revenge thing. Beduhn and Fullerton are great friends and will be college teammates at Wisconsin.
Everyone thinks we're kind of like competitors all the time, but no, we're close friends. We play tournaments together. We play doubles at national tournaments together, and we pit together almost every day. So playing each other is almost as mental as it is physical, and it's who's going to come out and play their best and who's not going to get in their own head and who's going to focus. And I think that's why it's always so fun to compete against someone you know really well.
Beduhn and Fullerton played as close a match as you could have in the AA final, with Fullerton winning 7-6, 6-7, 7-6 with a final set tiebreaker. While it wasn't fun to lose, Collin was not crushed by it.
I was always just happy it was so fun to play and being part of that history of a match. And right after the match, I wasn't even disappointed. It was a four-hour plus match, and it came down to 7 points. And at the end of the day, he beat me in those 7 points, so I couldn't really complain. It was a great match.
He thanked me as a coach and said I really enjoyed that match. I wouldn't have been that way in high school, but he is someone that is so mature and kind of understood the moment that he probably played in the greatest state championship tennis match in the history of Minnesota.
Collin Beduhn is hoping to win the singles title this season. He also thinks his team has a good shot.
I think so. I mean, we've been close the past few years, but this is our year. We got the team, we got everything's lining up, and I think this is our year to really show the state what we got and bring home a title.
It was good news and bad news for Collin at the state tournament. Wayzata did go on to win the state team title, but Beduhn was upset in the quarterfinals of the singles tournament. That's all for sports. I'm Jay Wilcox.